BPO3 is supported by Timber King Sawmills. For more information on my 1220 CRZ mill, or one of many Foley hydraulic options, go to timberking.com. Good morning to you. It is a good morning here. My poison ivy reaction is finally starting to go away, thankfully. So I'm not nearly as itchy as I once was. I've been organizing a little bit on this log yard side of the shop, and I'm calling it a log yard now because, well, I am bringing all the logs over to this side. I got on the tractor yesterday to bring some of the logs a little bit closer, and next thing you know, an hour and a half has passed and I'm turning this into a log yard, getting a little bit more organized. And I think I need to do this anyway because we are in our drought, and everywhere on the property I've got access with the tractor, but that's going to change soon. Our drought's going to end just as fast as it started, and we're going to be in a mucky muck mess. So the closer I can get these logs to the sawmill in a staged location, I think the better it's going to be over the winter. So the 3 piles over there is now just one in the middle. That's the biggest pile of 8-footers, and I've started moving things closer. This pile right here is 12-footers. On the other side of that, you can see it's much longer of a pile. That's all my 8-footers. I've got the most of those. I've got a couple interesting logs over here. I think I'm just going to pile the interesting stuff by itself, and then over there on that side, that's the stack of 10-footers. I don't have a lot of those. And then some slabs that came off that will eventually be turned into wood chips. So I've got a lot more logs to move over here, and that's what I want to focus on today. I've got 2 more piles of logs that I want to move over here, but I don't know how long those logs are. So I'm going to go get a measurement of the remaining logs, and then I'll know which pile to stack them on. Something else that's beneficial about restacking all the logs closer to the mill is I can purposefully stack them. You know, the butt section of the tree, or the stump, the side closest to the stump is always going to be a larger diameter than the side closest to the top, closest to the canopy. Trees are never perfectly cylindrical. Maybe they have some sections that are, but as a tree grows, the top is always more narrow than the bottom, right? Captain Obvious, huh? Well, I want to stack all of the logs in the new log yard, so that way the natural movement of picking them up with the tractor and then putting them on the sawmill results in the smaller side of that log being on the same side as my toe board jack. Toe board jack, I think that's what it's called. The jack that I can lift up the smaller side, or the more narrow side, so that way the center axis of the tree or the log is parallel with the movement of the sawmill head, and therefore yield the best usable lumber. Got a few items that I need to move out of this area before I actually move the logs. But this stack is 10-foot 6-ish, so these are some more 10-footers. That's good. I didn't think that these were 10s, and I have the least amount of 10s. Don't buy this tape measure. Come on. Come on. Oh, there it goes. Would not recommend. These 3 logs came off of the tree that I took down at the corner of the driveway right there. And when I took that tree down, I just cut it. Hey, I'm not measuring nothing, just cut it. And let's get it out of the driveway so we can actually use the driveway. And these are not in good shape to begin with. So let's see what these are. Whoa. This one's over 13 feet, which means the one next to it's a little bit less than that. So I think all of these I'll put in the 12-foot section. I chose the wrong tape measure to bring out of here. Oh my goodness. Let's just measure the center one real quick, just to make sure it's over 12.6, whatever the nominal number is. Add 6 inches. So, nope, this is a 10-footer. It's 11.5. So I got two 12s with a 10 in between. Jeez. This is the longest tape measure I have, and it's the one that you would want the retraction to be the best on. And it doesn't retract. It's been like this since day one, so it's not like I left it out in the rain or something like that. I like it because it has a magnet on one end, so you can stick it to a piece of metal or something. Ugh, but the retraction is frustrating. Another benefit of getting these logs out of here, out of this orchard area, is it'll free up all this space for me to start mulching all the vegetation once again. That's a big diameter log right there. That's a big one, Mr. Nolly. What do you think, Mr. Nolly? Poor Nolly, he's missing his buddy Grace. Grace is still in the cage because she's a wild child and too much for her current situation. Nine foot, so this is the 8 foot pile of logs. Let's see, maybe I don't have to retract it. Maybe I just move it like this. I'll walk around like this all day. Look at me and my big tape measure. Almost 9 foot. So this is a whole stack of 8s. Man, this looks like a good stack of logs too. Like nice, straight. Oh, come on. Today's the day. This video should be titled like tape measure something or other. Yeah, this is a good section of 8-footers. No knots or no major tree branches or knots sticking out the side. There's a little minor one here. Yeah, this is going to be some good lumber on this side. Another pile over here. These are longer. I wonder what these are. The top one doesn't look good. $12 foot, okay, sitting on top of what looks like an 8 foot. $8 foot. Oh, not quite 12 foot. So this is a 10 foot pile. So this is a 10 foot on top of a 12 foot on top of an 8 foot. Tell me how that makes sense, Jay. Oh. Ten, 10, and 10. So 12 on top, 8 in front, 10 in the middle. That looks like another 8. Those I can tell right away that those are 12s. And those are all 8s over there. I tell you what, this is, I mean, I need to make a shirt with this tape measure or something. Now you're gonna get stuck in there. Okay, I swear I'm not an idiot. Okay. $8'9", so another 8 foot log pile. These are all 8-footers. I'm using these two to stack the metal, so I don't care about them right now. And then this one, you know what's interesting about these logs is the beetles are killing them, so they take off all the bark, right? Which is kind of sort of good for me if I'm sawing them up and don't have to cut through the bark. It'll make it last longer. But you look at that and you're like, man, that's a rotten log, or a log that's doesn't have much value there. It's all checked on the outside, you know, it's starting to dry out on the outside, and it just doesn't look that good. You cut it open though, I mean, that looks like something you'd see at Home Depot or Lowe's. Looks real good on the inside. Do I have any more hanging around here? I think there's a couple over there. 15 feet. Maybe I should set this one aside for some beams or something. 15 feet. Okie dokie. Let's go over there after I deal with my tape measure again. Alright, there's got to be a better way. Slight incline, gravity goes down, and then we go all the way up and let it fall into place. Fall into place. There you go. Come on. You know, 2011, 2012, Mr. Nolly, if our paths crossed at that time, you would not have as good of a life as you do right now. These dogs free roam, well, other than Grace being spayed right now and she's in the cage, they free roam sun up to sundown. They're always with us. They chase things away from the shop, which is good. They're just great dogs, great companions, and we like to think that we're giving them the good life, you know. Just chowing on some grass, huh, bud? Good boy. All right, I've got some really long logs over here that I think are going to stay over here. I'm going to guess here that this is 20 feet. Oh, 20 feet 4 inches. Okay. Which means the one next to it is just about 20, and the one next to that is longer than 20. So these are my long log stash for any type of long beams. That being said, you know, that's 20 feet long. The capacity on my sawmill is 17 foot 9 inches. So if I wanted to mill all those, I'd have to if I wanted to mill the entire length, I'd have to get one more extension for the sawmill, which is entirely possible. I don't know how that correlates to the trailer package, but it is entirely possible. All right, let's get on the tractor, Mr. Nolly. Well, not you. You got to stay away from the tractor, but you're pretty good about staying away. It is now time for a therapy session with the tractor. Quick pit stop before we actually move a bunch of logs. I use the 4-wheel drive on this tractor a lot, and I use it a lot with heavy stuff here on the front loader. So therefore, I'm considering this front axle a heavy-duty service interval. I should be using a slightly more frequent service interval than what's recommended in the manual. So at about 80% of the fluid lifespan, I'm trying to get this changed so that this lasts a long time. That being said, changing it into this small pan, that small pan gets dumped into my big oil bucket, which I've got quite a bit of it right there, already in there. And then moving into this 55-gallon drum. This system, this setup has turned out to be quite nice, actually. This bucket is there only, if you haven't seen the build video on this bucket is there only to catch the drip off of that bottom hose. So when I'm ready to put this next to that pump, I can take the bucket off, put that hose into the big red bin, put a drill on the drill powered pump right there, pump it all into here, and then when I need to use it, like on a fire or something, to get some, say, root balls burning, I can pump out as much as I need and use it as I need to use it. That was pile number 1 or 2 from last year, right next to the water spigot. It is finally gone, so we can start cleaning up this space. Pile number 1 or 2 from last year was right here, and it is now completely gone, so we can continue to clean up this space. And my 10-foot pile is pretty darn full. I've got 5 more 10s and 5 more 12s over in the future orchard area, and then the rest is a boatload of 8s. So on this 10-foot stack, you know, I really don't want to go higher than 3, just for the sake of stability. I'm gonna have to have a layer of 4. Not the end of the world, but the higher it gets, the little bit more attentive I'm going to be to this pile. I've got T-posts in all 4 corners, and they're buried a good 16 inches or so, 12 inches or so. And I started on this side, so I put the 2 T-posts over there when I was starting to pile logs on, and I bumped this with the tractor several times. I purposefully made one of these roll over onto the T-posts just to see what they would do, see how bad that they would react. And it's not bad at all. Like, they're gonna keep the logs from rolling, and they're gonna stop a dangerous situation if something falls. But if I plow through with the tractor on one side like a bulldozer, well, probably not now, obviously they would bend over. So they're like the saying, you know, the saying goes, locks are to keep an honest person honest. You know, if a thief wants to be a thief, they're gonna break through the lock. Well, these will keep the logs stationary for the majority of situations. I think there's no stopping the cats and dogs from jumping on this. That's just a pipe dream, stopping the animals from being animals. Like Mr. Nolly. Mr. Nolly, what are you doing under there, dude? You hanging out with the cat? He froze because I said his name. Nolly, what are you doing, dude? You're proving my point. There's no way to stop animals from being animals. So these T-posts should stop movement of the logs, unwanted movement of the logs. Now the cool thing is, I can come in through this front side or the back side and use the grapple like the claw game when we were kids and just pick out a log from the top, and I can clear the top of the T-posts, pulling it back this way. So I think that's plenty acceptable. I think it's as safe as I can get it without going through some crazy measures here, and I'm okay with that. Like I said, I've got 5 more 10-footers. They'll go up on top. I'll be able to access the top first all the way down, and because this is relatively short distance, like the runners down on bottom, I used the 2 of the 10-foot logs as the runners. Because it is a relatively short distance, I can pull in, or I can get it from this side, or I can get it from the other side. So I've got options as far as how I want to get the log out of there. Like I said, 5 more 10-footers over there, 5 more 12-footers over there, and the 12-foot pile is going to be relatively small because that's the last that I have that are 12s. So the 5 that I just mentioned over near the orchard, and there's 4 or 5 on this one already. So I only have total 10 12-foot logs. So this will be a short stack right here, and then I've got a boatload of 8s. Like, that is really long for the 8-foot stack, and it needs to be longer. I may have to put 2 more logs over here to increase its overall length because I have so many 8-foot logs. I got a pile over there, and then, like I said, quite a bit in the orchard. My GoPro is the camera that overheats the most by far, and I like to put it up there, but the sun got it. I made 1 or 2 passes from the pile to the logs, and the GoPro overheated. So it's not going to protect me much, but I put a PVC pipe right here and then stuck an umbrella in it. Double-sided Velcro up there, double-sided Velcro down here, and then put the pipe right on top of one of these bolts so it's less likely to wiggle around, and it gives me a spot to carry along a much better tape measure than the one I've been fussing about. So that's good. Now I can get the GoPro up there with this battery bank and some more double-sided Velcro and set it and forget it. Remember those old late night infomercials, set it and forget it.
Put up the glass, set it.
The rotisserie chicken something or other. Oh, this is nice. I'm in the shade. What a day. It was a hot one today, hot one. But I have a log yard now. I got a lot done. So the only logs that are not in what I'm calling the log yard are that one. That one's tiny in diameter. And then there's a few over there from one of these real tall skinny trees I took down previously. All of those are so small in diameter. Now that I have some experience with the sawmill, I can understand that the yield on those is not much at all and not worth my time to put up on the sawmill, considering I have a lot of other logs that are much greater in diameter. So I'm going to keep pulling from this pile as necessary for runners on the ground if I need to. And then I got to put that one back over there because it's bothering me just chilling out here by itself. So this whole row right here, this first one, is 8-footers. All of my logs, whatever number I say, like 8 foot, 10 foot, 12 foot, add 6 inches. I always cut my logs 6 inches longer. So that is 8-footers. That is 8-footers. That is 12-footers. That is some oddball stuff. Like I've got a big old piece of pine over here that has a huge crotch section. I mean, it's pine. It's not like it's some beautiful ambrosia maple or anything. But I think that one's going to be interesting to cut up. So I set it to the side, right? You get what I'm saying? That one's way small. That's just like a 6-footer. I don't know why that one's cut that length. This is a piece of maple. I don't quite know the type of maple, but it is a maple tree. And then this one's got so many darn monster knots sticking out of it. I'll probably cut this up for something else other than sawmill use. On this 12-foot bunk, I do have the T-posts all the way around it. On the middle 8-foot bunk or pile, which is what I started with at the beginning of the day, was just one 8-foot pile. I did put posts on this backside, bumped into it a bunch of times using the tractor to try and make things fall and slip. That way it's less likely to slip if the animals get on it. But I didn't put them at the front side of this, and I don't think it's necessary. When you have just 2 rows like this, there's a lot of friction between the logs that stops them from wanting to roll easily. I walked all over that, tried to kick it a little bit here and there. Nothing wants to roll. So if I can't get it to roll purposefully, I'm hoping that the dogs won't get it to roll on accident. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I may come back and put some more T-posts on this one tomorrow. Same with this. This is the other 8-foot pile, and same thing. We're not going super high. There's a lot of friction between the first and second layer. None of this wants to roll hardly at all when I bump into it with the tractor, so I think I'm good. I think I'm good there. Halfway through the tractor time, I had to switch to long sleeves. This is a Brunt long sleeve outdoor summer shirt. I've had it for like a year now, and I just hate wearing long sleeve shirts in the summertime, even though when I put this on I was like, oh wow, that is cooler. So the 10-foot stack, I think I've already talked about this because I don't think I added to it. Well, I did add those 5 extra ones after the first time I talked about it. So this 10-foot stack is done. I can pull from the top. Nothing wants to roll, and I'm okay with that. So where are the last few logs at? I said over there's that small itty-bitty pile I'm not gonna mess with at all. Inside the future orchard area, there's 2 logs on the ground that are just in rough shape. They're not saw logs at all. They're all bendy and twisty, and I'm using those to elevate some metal off of the ground, some extra metal from the roof and the side of this structure. And then way off on the other side over there, I consolidated all the really long stuff. So there's a 15-foot log over here, and I moved it over there with those 16-footers. So I've got 4 logs over there that are longer than 15 feet, and I'll save those as my, essentially my beam pile, my long beam pile. But there's no more logs right here, which is nice. I can start cleaning this out, get the pallets out of there, get the small scrap metal out of there, and make that a little easier to manage. No logs there, no logs there, no logs there, no logs on this entire side now, finally. So I can start cleaning this up as well.